Hey guys, it's March 13th, 2017. Wanted to record some of the stuff that I've learned. I think this is a good way for me to come back and reference, some of my learning from my notes I've taken. And just going back to the beginning of this, my notebook here. And the first thing I have here is persistence. You have to keep going despite the odds, but be smart, know when to fold them, and know when to keep going based on wisdom and experience. So, what that means to me is that um, you have to keep going, when you're trying to achieve something and not back down from it. You're going to encounter challenges. Things are going to come up. You're going to have opposition, but you have to keep going. And sometimes that initial feeling is to stop. Not to keep doing it. And the more that you can come at it and attack it, the closer and closer you're going to get. And so sometimes you need to take a break, or look at it differently. You know, um, but you want to make sure you understand this. It's not just something that you just say. You have to really understand persistence. You have to keep going, and you can't give up. So, example, um, is when I was learning how to trade in the beginning. I made a lot of mistakes and I lost a lot of money, and you chalk it up to experience. That wasn't my initial thoughts. I may have screwed up a lot, um, and I really wanted to learn it, so I kept going. And so I think it's very important that you have something in your mind that says don't give up, keep learning, keep going. Remember why it's important, why you're doing it, and that you need to um, keep moving forward. And so, um, and it's going to come down to how bad you want it. So, Felix Dennis. Well, before I move on to Felix Dennis, and then sometimes I think after looking at it, the other thing is know when to fold it. Know when to not pursue it anymore. Um, how do you know? I think after three. Well, I think maybe after several attempts at it, and it doesn't. And if you see that there's no longer a market for it, might be have to really look at it from all angles and see if it's really makes sense to keep persisting at it and keep it going, or know when to fold it. It's something that you're gonna, like for example, we hire Paul, and we saw that there was initial signs he wasn't gonna work out, and we gave him a few attempts, and it got worse and worse, and so we just pulled the plug. But we could have prevented that, I think, in the beginning by paying attention to our intuition to know that he was going to be a bad hire. So, but I realized that the risk to reward wasn't there with him, so we let him go. And that's the thing. I think that you'll get that with wisdom as a manager or a leader when you're making decisions. That based on what you're looking at. So, Felix Dennis, I guess he's a multi-millionaire in Europe, and a very successful entrepreneur that we learned about. He has a book on how to get rich. I guess he says, some of the takeaways I got, that nothing in life is guaranteed. Don't be overly optimistic. Things don't magically come together. Contemplate the downside and have reserves in the event of a downturn. Don't forget to start small. Greatest errors in life come from not starting small. Let's see, Felix Dennis, what this is talking about. So, it's, making sure I understand what the learning is here. So nothing in life is guaranteed. So yeah, you're gonna have to make it. You can't take your eye off the ball with things. For a second there, when we started, when we were funding decent volume, or when we were funding consistently about $5 million a month, I thought the income was going to be kind of automatic, or the revenue or the volume, and I wasn't watching as much. And it's not guaranteed. You have to, somebody has to be watching metrics constantly, whether it's labor, expenses, production, your portfolio, watching positions and making adjustments, accordingly. You shouldn't be so overly optimistic that you think everything's going to be cheery and rosy. I mean, there's a time for it. Yeah, because see, if you're overly optimistic, then it's going to put blinders on you to see what could really be there. Because nothing's gonna magically come together. You're gonna have to work at it. And you have to be able to control your brain, and you have to think about what are the downside risks if something doesn't work out. And those are some, like for example, if this radio thing doesn't work out, and what's the downside risk? And to have reserves in the event of a downturn. That's one thing Bill Gates said, that he always want to have 12 months of reserves in the event of a downturn. And I need to really think about that and build up our cash reserves. in the event that something does happen. You should contemplate the downside. You're not thinking about it, or you're not dwelling on it, but you should think about it. Like, if something happens, then have a backup plan. Don't forget to start small. Greatest errors in life come from not starting small. That's what he's saying. So if you start too big, it could be a huge error. Yeah, that's right. Hire too many people at one time, trade too big. It's all great learning lessons. And that's one thing I need to get better on, to think things through and not be so impulsive. I think that's one thing. Maybe I'm doing too many things at once, and maybe I have been impulsive or not thinking things through. I need to be able to do that, to think things through. I think it's very important. You start small, you prove it, and then, from there, then you can scale it. It's good to try things, to experiment. That's one thing that Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg talk about, to try and experiment. I think they say it's very good to do. And that's another thing that I learned today on this review of Attached. You can't build a business alone. I think that's one thing that Felix Dennis was talking about. You're going to need people and develop deep relationships with people. Identify who those people are. Are their characteristics. Hire them, nurture them, reward them, protect them. And if they don't work out, fire them. Either nurture them, reward them, protect them, fire them. Yeah, that's the thing, yeah. Yeah, it's true. Good, I like that. So some of the key takeaways here, yeah, you have to be very persistent. That means that you get slapped in the face, you have to keep going. And I think that's why I've had that avoidance type personality, where I don't want to get close to people. Because if you do get slapped in the face, then or they let you down, that it hurts, and so you don't want to. But you need to. If you want to build a great company, you're going to need a lot of people, and you have to build a social bond with them. Like Mark Zuckerberg says, the social side is important. So can't give up. Yeah, that's good.